Semi-automatic hydraulic presses are used for a great variety of molding jobs in the plastics industry. Molding pieces such as these terminal block insulators, certain special problems are involved. This piece has metal inserts. It involves difficult flow conditions, and it must be molded to very accurate dimensions. In the case of a simple piece like this plastic case, none of these problems are involved, and the compression method is used. Material is loaded directly into the mold cavity. Then the press is closed. Heat and pressure soften the material and make it flow into the shape of the piece. Then fuse and harden it permanently. But if this terminal block insulator were to be molded by compression, where the material is placed directly into the mold, the inserts might be distorted by the pressure, and mold parts might be broken. Also, due to material accumulated on the edges, the mold halves might not close completely, and the dimensions of the piece may not be exactly as specified. Therefore, such pieces are molded by a method which overcomes these difficulties: transfer molding. In this method, the material goes first into a chamber where it is softened by heat and pressure. Then it is transferred in plastic state through a connecting sprue or runner into the mold cavity. That's why it is called transfer molding. Briefly, here is what happens in transfer molding. The material, in this case preforms, is placed in the transfer chamber. When the press is closed, first the bottom half of the mold moves up against the top half, and the mold closes. As the press is closed farther, the closed mold and the transfer chamber move up to the plunger so that the molding material is compressed. In the chamber, heat and pressure soften the material, and it flows through the sprue into the cavity in plastic form so that the inserts and delicate mold sections are not distorted or broken. Also, since the mold halves were closed tight before the material entered, there is no overflow to keep the mold from closing completely, and the piece will have the required dimensional accuracy. Therefore, transfer molding is used for molding such pieces as this terminal block insulator. The first step in transfer molding is the preparation of the charge. In this case, preforms are used, 2 for each cycle. The charge is to be preheated for 2 minutes. Check the starting time. In transfer molding, not only the mold, but the plunger, transfer chamber, and sprues must be cleaned thoroughly. First, with a mallet of soft material, knock off the sprue cull from the plunger. Use an air hose to clean off the remaining material. It may also be necessary to use a soft brass or copper tool to remove any additional bits of plastic. Be sure to wear gloves as protection from the hot surfaces. Now blow the chamber clear. Then clean the upper half of the mold. Here also, use a soft metal tool to drive out material that sticks in the screws. Finally, clean the mold cavity itself. Now you are ready for the molding cycle. Take off your gloves to place the inserts in position in the mold. On a job which involves inserts, special care must be taken. It's a mistake with a single insert will mean a reject piece and perhaps a ruined mold. Also, the inserts must be snug, or they might shear off or rotate out of place during the molding cycle. So if necessary, drive them down with a soft brass bar and make sure none are loose on their pins. Transfer molding nearly always involves inserts, so all these precautions are basic. Finally, make certain there are no loose inserts in the cavity. Next, remove the charge from the preheater, where it has been for the required time of 2 minutes. Place it in the chamber. Then advance the control lever to close the mold. Keep your hands clear of the press. Inside the chamber, the material is softened by heat and pressure so that it enters the mold in softened form. Once the press is closed, it remains closed. Breathing of the mold is generally not required in transfer molding because the mold has tiny air vents built into it which allow the trapped moisture and gases to escape. Check the time to allow the specified curing period for the piece. An undercured piece would have blisters, might fail in service. Then, while the piece is curing, place the preforms in the preheater for the next molding cycle. When the prescribed curing time has elapsed, open the press. The knockout pins eject the pieces from the mold so they can be easily removed. Then break off any remaining flash that is easily removable and inspect the pieces for visible defects. Finally, pack the pieces as specified for the job. In review, the basic steps in molding a part by the transfer method are: preheat the charge for the exact specified time. Knock off the screw cull and thoroughly clean the plunger, the chamber, and both mold halves, making certain to clear out all the material from the screw holes. Position all inserts as specified, making certain they are snug on the pin and that no loose inserts get into the mold. Load the molding material into the chamber. Close the mold carefully and control the pressure as prescribed for the particular job. Allow the correct curing time before opening the press. Break off the flash, inspect the pieces, and pack them. Finally, establish a coordinated sequence of operations in order to do the job efficiently.